continue
I don't
to
like
do
your
what
word
you'd like.
salad. It's true.
So-
You are a very bad minister.
Oh,
Canada's immigration is broken. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Conservative calling out the immigration minister, Carney's immigration minister, to her face as a liar. She gets called out. She does not like it. She snaps back, even though she was caught lying. We got more crime, corruption, and chaos. Let's jump into this. Immigration's still a problem here. We've got Wiretap Media posting this one. Bombshell. President of the National Police Federation, Bryant Suave, has finally confirmed the rise of bad times crime in Canada is directly linked to Canada's terrible immigration policies, as in the Liberals' immigration policies.
I noted, in previous testimony on other related issues, there's been a lot of evidence that visa requirement changes made by the government in the past 10 years has exacerbated the problem of foreign nationals with criminal records. We had the president of the CBSA and other witnesses here at the last meeting talking about how it's almost like they're trying to empty the bathtub with a bucket, but the bathtub is continuing to fill up almost as fast as they're able to drain the bucket. Obviously, you said that the RCMP is widely involved in these removals. Have you noted that visa requirement changes have led to spikes in those with criminal records in Canada?
I haven't noted that, but obviously Canada has seen over the last 8 years a large influx of immigration. So when you increase the number of people coming in, commensurate with populations across the world, you're going to increase all types.
I wish they'd just come out and say it. All these guys, they all beat around the bush. We've seen a large increase in immigration. Just say it outright that the Liberals have brought in way too many people that's breaking the system. That is exactly what's happening. Just say it. How much is related to cartel activity that moved in under this government? That's the key question. It has to be a lot because we didn't have these problems before Trudeau came in. He comes in with all his cronies and suddenly we have cartel problems. The Mexican cartels working with the Chinese. Canada becomes this world hub of street candy and street fennel being shipped out of Vancouver. With that, we got Toronto Crime Watch posting this one. Police Joint Operation Project Wrangler dismantles a violent criminal network spanning Ontario and Quebec. And, well, we've got a bunch of these friendly characters here. 13 of them were arrested. Do they stay in jail? Probably not. Despite significant arrests, investigators are still searching for 2 men wanted in connection with the criminal organization. What were these guys involved in? Well, there's a whole list here. Homicide, multiple ending people, kidnapping, armed carjackings, armed robberies, home invasions, and other serious offenses. Thanks, Liberals. Thanks for allowing these people to come in unvetted. Here we have some footage of Project Wrangler, some of these lovely characters in action. I should be able to show more of this now. Maybe not that guy hitting the wall there. After Aaron Gunn sent an email to YouTube, I got my play button. I have less problems than I used to regarding censorship. So these guys smash and bang the wall. So some guys with some pew-pews, some guys... Oh, more people with pew-pews. We got some pow-pow stuff here. I have no idea what's going on there. Looks like some officers doing some rough stuff here. We got a carjacking here. Oh, this looks like a bank. Robbing a bank. Wow, this car came in and pinned it. I don't know who this is or what, but amazing. These guys just need to be rounded up and send them over to North Korea. A gift package to Kim Jong-un. Here you go, have these guys. We don't want them. And they refuse to address the call for castle law. Yeah, if we had castle law, then Canadians could start taking these people out ourselves. But what they are going to do, try to censor the Bible, biblical passages in Canada that could be listed as hate speech. What a joke. I'm not even religious. Come on. This is ridiculous. What's also ridiculous is this Lima request for temporary foreign worker, $41.25 an hour at a bottle depot in Edmonton. There's not a single Canadian in Edmonton that would work for $41.25 an hour at a bottle depot in Edmonton. I call bullcrap. We got Michelle Rempel-Gardner here, jousting with Carney's immigration minister.
Going to have your job. Will you support an amendment to ensure that your government can't mass extend 3 million people because you have no plan to remove them? Yes or no? And this is really bad. Can you just
listen, member? When you ask a question, I think you should be able to have decency to let someone respond. If you don't like any responses, then please continue.
I don't like your word salad. It's true. You are a very bad minister.
Oh, you know what? I prefer fattoush and tabbouleh to your salad at any time.
That is the oddest thing any immigration minister has said at this committee. It's very weak.
It's my culture.
Will likely be added to your performance.
Tabbouleh and whatever to her word salad. I don't know where Carney found her, but she is the worst minister probably on the entire deck. Moving ahead, we've got rejected asylum claimants still get medical benefits in Canada. It says the interim federal health program has increased to $821 million per year since 2016, which is up 1,200%.
I had to check. I mean, we all know you as the Minister of Immigration, but you are the Minister of Refugees as well. And so I guess I was dumbfounded when you said that you don't know what % of refugee claims are ultimately accepted in the last round.
I do not. I can go on the website and check, and I'm sure
maybe you should.
Colleagues can do that. We can definitely follow up with you.
Okay, I mean, that was 20 minutes ago. When somebody's refugee claim is denied, do they continue to receive benefits from IFHP?
No, when it's denied, it follows through the process. Once the process is concluded, it ends.
So, Minister, I have another question about the IFHP, and it's really important for the Canadians following along at home to understand. So this program, the $900 million program, includes pharmaceuticals and vision care and mental health counseling and assistive devices and physiotherapy and occupational speech therapy and all sorts of things that seniors in Kitchener do not get unless they have supplemental health coverage. I asked you, if somebody's refugee claim is denied, do they continue to get all of this coverage? And you said no. Here I have your website. It says, as a refugee claimant, you'll get IFHP coverage if your claim for refugee protection has been rejected by the IRB. So did you lie to the committee, or is your website lying?
Wow. He just straight out called her out for lying in committee.
Excuse me?
I said, did you lie to the committee, or is your website lying?
Be careful with the language, Mr. Strauss.
Did you mislead the
I'm sorry, what? Careful with his language. She just lied to committee. She should be fined for this.
committee, or is the website misleading?
Not in the job of doing that. Thank you very much. It's not something that is in my dictionary either. So what I said is the interim federal health program provides temporary health care coverage to address urgent and essential medical needs for refugees and asylum claimants while they wait to become eligible for provincial and territorial health insurance plans. And then
I asked, if your refugee claim is denied, do you continue to receive coverage? And here your website says you continue to receive coverage if your claim is denied, if your refugee claim is denied.
I said they continue to receive claims until all the refugee process is concluded.
So what part of the process comes after the claim being denied by IRB?
Well, again, it's the IRB that takes care of that. There is a process, and
There's a process of lying, and I was outright caught lying in committee, and I probably should be thrown in jail for this, but it's not going to happen. What a load of crap. These people are unbelievable. These are the boneheads that are running our country.
a legal process.
So I'm to understand that you, as the minister who looks after this interim federal health program, who is the Minister of Refugees, doesn't know what part of the process comes after the IRB denying your refugee claim?
Well, again, if I put the chapeau on my hat when I was a lawyer, people can appeal, or there could be other considerations. So again, this is not.
Thank you. I'd like to yield my time over to to Dan Mazur.
Wow, so she's using her lawyer tactics. I said the process, there could be other things in the process. We know full well what she's saying here. She lied to committee. She should be punished for this. We can't have liars in our government. This should be an honest, straight up organization. And it's funny to say, because there's probably more liars than honest people in the government. Actually, we know that because, well, the Liberals are in power and they have more seats. Meanwhile, EI still denied to Canadians forcibly removed from their jobs for nonsensical world event mandates. The Liberal government does not like Canadians. They're using us to their best benefit. They're trying to bring in replacements for us, and they're fear-mongering until they can make that happen. I enter Exhibit A, Canadian woman getting assisted perishing because she can't get surgery. They're going to give healthcare, medical care, vision, physiotherapy, yada, yada, yada to people who aren't even Canadians. But then Canadians have to choose to perish instead of getting surgery. This is what's happening in our country. The Liberal government does not care about us at all. They know how easily they can manipulate the general population, for example, the last election, and they're just going to keep doing that. Until Canadians wake up and say enough's enough, these problems won't go away. Moving ahead, we've got a alleged man, Vikram Sharma, pouring gasoline on 2 vehicles parked at a Punjabi singer AP Dillon's house in September 2024. Then the man proceeds to pew 14 rounds into his Colwood home in British Columbia, because this is what the Liberals have brought into our country. Pour some gasoline. I don't know what that is, a bike? It's what our country's become. So then he goes on to pew pew. I can't put that in there. YouTube doesn't like those sound effects, but you can see him pointing. When you read how this guy was allowed to stay in Canada, it's infuriating. He was in Canada on an expired student visa. He presented fraudulent documents to immigration, and then instead of deporting him immediately, they gave him a hearing, which he never showed up for. He was too busy doing gang stuff. If we don't get rid of the Liberal government, we are doomed. Yeah, this guy should be put in a jail cell where he has to work 10 hours a day, otherwise he doesn't get to eat. He should provide GDP value back to our country. And with that, we've already had an update on this story. That's right, extortion suspects have all claimed refugee status, Canada's border agency says. They attack our country, firebomb, pew pew a house, and then get refugee status. They should be in prison for 25 years. This is how dumb our country is. Moving ahead, we've got this story that's been bouncing around here. Coastal First Nations NGO funded by US billionaires somehow granted veto power over Canadian energy projects. I don't think this is a real release from CBC, but this story is going around. We have Brian Lilly here talking about this. As it says here, Coastal First Nations is an activist group. They have no pipeline veto. Some First Nation bands want these pipelines coming through because they bring jobs. It's only the activists that don't.
Got money from the Rockefeller Brothers Fund. They got money from the Tides Foundation, the Moore Foundation, the Margaret A. Cargill Foundation. What did all of these foundations have in common? They opposed the development of Canada's oil and gas industry. They opposed the development of natural resources industries, be it mining in British Columbia or forestry in British Columbia. Well, if you are a coastal First Nation, how are you going to earn your money? How are you going to get ahead? Well, okay, you've got forestry lands. You can make money off of that. You've got mining rights. You've got, a route for a pipeline. Well, this group that, tries to portray itself and that most of the lazy media makes it sound like they speak for all First Nations, they don't. I'm not going to say that they don't speak for some groups. There are going to be some bands that are absolutely on side with them, but not all. I just spoke with Ellis Ross for an upcoming episode of the Full Comment podcast that will come out on Monday. Ellis is, of course, former MLA from British Columbia. He's a current Conservative MP for Skeena-Bulkley Valley, represents Kitimat, which is where the Haisla First Nation that he's the former chief of was. And he said, I used to be on the board of that group. I pulled my band out of there because they were opposed to all this resource development that was going to give people in his community jobs and economic security.
It's just good to hear that there are some bands that have common sense and know what brings prosperity into their communities.
So, saying coastal First Nations are opposed to this makes it sound like, well, all the bands along the coast are opposed. No, it's an activist group. It's akin to saying, well, the NDP is opposed to it, and the NDP speaks for Canadians, so all Canadians are opposed to this. No, it's an activist group. And so, I'm not saying that they should be ignored, but let's treat them and label them as they are.
Yeah, didn't most communities support Northern Gateway in 2014 as well? I believe you've written about this.
Yeah, 31 different First Nations groups along the route of Northern Gateway supported it, which was the vast majority along the route, supported Northern Gateway. But you know who didn't? Coastal First Nations. They opposed it, and their then executive director, a guy named Art Starrett, threatened to make sure that if anyone put a shovel in the ground to build that pipeline, they would be there to stop it.
Yeah.
Well, they, again, being portrayed as something they're not. And Rockefeller Brothers Fund, if you've never seen it, put together this plan in 2008 called the Tar Sands Campaign that was to vilify Canada's oil and gas industry.
And what's the point of this? So Canada doesn't become more prosperous? We don't produce more oil and gas? We're not competing with America? We make less money? This is some pretty sinister stuff when you have big money from America that's affecting our oil and gas industry in Canada. As he mentioned, Tides Foundation, Margaret A. Foundation, all these different foundations. These are all American foundations sending big money to Canadian activists to block our energy projects.
To make sure that the oil sands, which they labeled the tar sands, never was developed properly. They wanted to shut down pipelines. They wanted to shut down extraction. They wanted to shut down the industry. That was their goal. And they partnered with Canadian NGOs and some First Nations groups to try and accomplish that. That is what is still going on with this group, Coastal First Nation.
And as long as they keep getting money, they don't need that pipeline going through there because they're already rich. It's pretty sinister what's going on. You can't mention all those American-funded eco-warriors attacking Canada's prosperity without including David Suzuki's name. He's wrapped up in all those groups too. Got Michelle Ferrari posting this one. So a woman was pokey-poked to her end in Ottawa Park was very sweet, friend says. Bertie Burra was attacked Thursday in front of her 2 young children. Welcome to Canada, where people aren't vetted and then they can run around and end people's lives and there's no consequences because the Liberals don't care about Canadians.
But you're going to get to the point where sometimes in our culture, it doesn't, for example, individuals coming from other cultures don't understand our laws and they're not being able to protect themselves. We had a witness in here who came from a different culture where men have the opportunity to be the dominant individual. Unfortunately, her family felt that that was okay. The abuse was okay. We need to stop that. So you're talking about education. How do we educate women coming here? I work with a group in York Region where they try and educate them to the law so that they can be better protected. So if we don't educate them before they come here and terrorize our women, how are we going to protect them?
I mean, there's plenty of men here who terrorize women. I'm not sure why we're specifically isolating.
And I understand that. I'm not isolating
our women.
I'm not.
Wow. Why did they bring her in? Why do they have her in committee? Liberals are so allergic to facts. We can push a motion that members get fined $5 or $10K for misleading or lying to Canadians in question period. Yep, done. Let's do it. I'm all for it. This is a huge problem. Cultural norms don't understand or respect borders. I wonder if there are stats on domestic pow-pow charges, recanting complaints. I mean, if people are coming into our country, they should know the rules. If they break the rules, they should be sent back immediately. It should be a one-strike rule and you're out if it's something very bad. Period. Why would we tolerate having bad people come into our country? It's a privilege to move here. At least it was. Now it seems like almost punishment.